You say you hate yourself. You point to your flaws, your failures, your wasted time. You wrap yourself in shame, convinced that the problem is weakness, laziness, lack, insufficiency. But what if that's not the truth? What if you don't hate yourself at all? What if you fear yourself, not for what you are, but for what you could become? Because buried beneath the self-loathing is something far more terrifying: potential, power, vision. A version of you so awake, so honest, so alive, it would destroy every excuse you've used to stay small. Nietzsche did not believe in self-hate. He saw it as a defense mechanism, a shield the ego uses to avoid the burden of becoming. This is not a video about healing your wounds. It is a confrontation with the truth behind them. And if you're brave enough to look into that mirror, really look, you might realize you've been hiding not from darkness, but from greatness. Nouveau. Why self-hate is often masked. Self-protection. Self-hate is seductive. It feels honest, noble even. It allows you to critique yourself endlessly without ever risking change. But look deeper. The language of self-hate, I'm not good enough, I'll never be ready, I ruin everything, is not always despair. It is protection. It keeps you rooted, safe, predictable, because the moment you stop hating yourself, you're out of excuses. You must act. You must confront your fears, abandon your comfort and rise. And that, not the pain, is what truly terrifies you. The ego's fear of real transformation. Nietzsche knew the ego is a fortress built on past identity. It craves continuity. And transformation, true ego-dissolving growth, is death to that identity. So the ego fights, not by attacking the world, but by attacking you. It whispers lies of inadequacy, not because it wants you to suffer, but because it wants you to stay the same. Self-hate becomes the ego's way of holding the line, of preventing the radical unknown from emerging, because once you see your potential clearly, nothing can remain as it was. Nietzsche and the shadow of unclaimed power. The higher we soar, Nietzsche wrote, the smaller we appear to those who cannot fly. But the shadow of that flight is heavy, because soaring demands that you leave behind your history, your justifications, even your story of suffering. And so, you don't. You clip your own wings, you stay in the shadow, and you tell yourself you're broken, unworthy. But the truth is simpler and more violent. You are powerful, and you're terrified of what that power would demand. The shadow isn't your failure. The shadow is the light you refuse to step into. How we reject ourselves to stay small. You don't want to disappoint others, so you disappoint yourself. You don't want to be misunderstood, so you silence your truth. You fear standing out, so you sink into invisibility. This is not humility, this is betrayal. Nietzsche saw that greatness is not something you are given, it is something you choose. And choosing it means saying goodbye to everything that once kept you comfortable. You reject your true self, not because you hate it, but because embracing it would force you to become someone new, someone dangerous, someone free. And that, not failure, is what you've been running from all along. Greatness as a spiritual burden. You think you want to succeed, to be seen, to become, but deep down you know that true greatness is not a reward, it is a burden. To rise is to carry the weight of vision. It is to wake each day with the knowledge that your choices matter, that your voice matters, that your existence can no longer be passive. Nietzsche knew this. He didn't celebrate greatness as glory. He revealed it as agony, the agony of refusing to remain asleep, the agony of birthing something real in a world of masks. You do not fear failure. You fear the responsibility that comes with becoming who you are. Why becoming yourself feels like betrayal. To step into your potential is not just change, it is betrayal. Betrayal of your past self, your family's expectations, your culture's definition of normal. You were trained to be digestible, quiet, acceptable, but your real self, your deep, primal, unedited self does not fit. It breaks. It offends, it burns, and so becoming yourself means leaving parts of your life behind. Sometimes people, sometimes love, sometimes identity itself. Nietzsche understood. To follow your becoming is to burn bridges not out of spite, but out of necessity. The fire clears the path for something truer to walk forward. The shame of unlived truth. There is a shame we rarely speak of. The shame not of failure, but of avoidance, of knowing you could have acted, could have spoken, could have moved, but didn't. That shame becomes heavy. It becomes the silent ache in your chest, the fog in your thoughts, the tension in your bones. And no amount of pleasure or distraction can erase it, because it's not a punishment. It's a reminder that your truth is still waiting. Nietzsche believed shame, when faced, can become fuel, but only if you stop using it to collapse and start using it to ignite. How power demands your old self's death power. True, grounded, authentic power demands sacrifice. It does not let you bring your old habits, your excuses, your stories. To step into power is to kill the version of you that feared it. That is why you hesitate. That is why you sabotage, because your current self cannot survive your next level. Nietzsche called this the great metamorphosis, not change, but transfiguration. The caterpillar doesn't grow wings, it dissolves into nothing. And from that, nothing, something else rises. This is what becoming really means. Not improvement, not achievement, but rebirth. Self-worth beyond validation. You've measured yourself in reflections, likes, compliments, smiles, the way they looked at you, the way they didn't. But validation is a drug, subtle, addictive, fleeting. It numbs the ache of doubt, but it never fills it. You keep coming back, hoping this time it will be enough. Nietzsche knew that self-worth born from others is not worth having. It's borrowed, and what is borrowed can always be taken. Real worth does not echo. It burns from within, and you will never hear it until you stop asking for it. How others reinforce your false identity. You think you're hiding your truth from the world, but the world is helping you hide. It affirms your mask. It applauds your silence. It rewards the version of you that never makes them uncomfortable. You've become a reflection of their expectations, a well-dressed fiction. And the more they approve, the deeper the lie is buried. Nietzsche warned that the herd doesn't hate you. It hates your difference. It will tolerate your sorrow, but never your sovereignty. To be yourself means disappointing them again and again, until they no longer recognize you, and finally you do. Nietzsche on pride, guilt, and radical solitude. Guilt is a leash, pride is a chain. These emotions, twisted by culture, keep you tethered to values that were never yours. You feel guilty not because you've done wrong, but because you dared to want more. You suppress your pride because you've been told humility means hiding. But Nietzsche invites you into a new realm, radical solitude, not loneliness, but inner freedom. A space where no mirror exists, but the one forged by your own fire. In this solitude, guilt dies. Pride transforms, and your worth becomes self-evident because it no longer requires translation. Becoming real by facing who you've denied. There is a version of you you've exiled, hidden, silenced, the one who wanted more, spoke louder, demanded better, the one who said no and meant it. You called that self-arrogant, difficult, unrealistic, but that was the real you. The rest, the quieter, smaller, obedient one, was the mask you wore to be loved. Becoming real means facing what you denied, pulling it from exile, giving it voice, letting it shatter what no longer fits. Nietzsche wrote, "Become who you are, not who they want, not who you promised to be, but who still waits in the dark, burning." Why authenticity is violent rebirth. Being yourself sounds poetic until you try it. Then it becomes war. Authenticity is not gentle. It rips through habits, friendships, expectations. It leaves behind pieces of you, familiar, safe, false pieces. Nietzsche knew to become who you are is not to evolve, but to erupt. You will disappoint, you will offend, you will burn bridges that never led anywhere, but what you gain is your own voice, raw, untamed, unfiltered, and that is worth everything it costs. Authenticity is not self-expression, it is self-destruction and reassembly. Self-love as responsibility, not comfort. You've been told to love yourself by accepting everything, but that's not love, that's resignation. Nietzsche's self-love was brutal, demanding. It did not coddle, it called. To love yourself is to challenge yourself, to expect more, to demand action from your soul. Self-love means taking responsibility for your own becoming, not waiting, not blaming, but owning every choice, every silence, every refusal to move forward. You are not here to admire yourself. You are here to build yourself. What you lose when you finally commit. Once you say yes to your becoming, the losses begin. The loss of fitting in, the loss of being liked, the loss of being understood. But these are not punishments. They are clearings, necessary space for what must emerge. Nietzsche knew that becoming costs comfort, it costs safety, it costs your old life. But in the ashes, a real life begins. One not built on agreement, but on truth. And the truth is, what you are becoming cannot coexist with who you've pretended to be. The war between potential and fear. Every day you wake up to the same war. The part of you that knows, and the part that's afraid. The one that dreams, and the one that doubts. This war is sacred. It means you're alive, but only one side can win. Nietzsche asked not that you eliminate fear, but that you dominate it, that you do not wait for permission, but act despite resistance, because potential unclaimed is a slow death, but potential seized, that is resurrection. That is you finally rising, reclaiming self-worth through defiant action. You've waited for permission, for signs, for certainty, but worth does not come from waiting. It comes from willing, from acting not because you feel ready, but because you refuse to keep living beneath your truth. Nietzsche's overman does not ask, "Am I worthy?" He declares, "I am becoming worthy through what I dare to do." This is how you reclaim self-worth, not through affirmation, but through action. You don't find your value, you forge it. Every choice you make, every step you take into discomfort, every truth you speak that terrifies you, it adds weight to your being. The dignity of daring. Daring is not recklessness. It is sacred defiance, a rebellion against the quiet life, a refusal to kneel before fear. To dare is to look at the life you've been handed and say, "No, I will not live this script. I will not carry these limitations. I will carve my own shape into the world." Nietzsche saw dignity not in status or comfort, but in the intensity with which you live. Your power is not in being accepted, but in daring to exist without apology. Walking alone into truth. Becoming who you are is not a community project. It is a solitary walk into the unknown. You will be misunderstood. You will be mocked. You may even be feared. But this solitude is not punishment. It is purification. Nietzsche walked alone, thought alone, became alone. Because only in solitude can you separate your truth from the voices that buried it. To walk alone is to walk with your highest self, unchained, undiluted, undeniable. You don't need healing. You need to begin. Stop waiting to be whole. Stop waiting to feel enough. Healing is not the precondition. It is the byproduct of movement. You are not broken. You are unexpressed. And the cure is not in more introspection. It is in initiation, in beginning. Nietzsche's path to self-worth was brutal and beautiful. Act first, dare now, and let the flames of your choices burn away what no longer serves. Because what you've called self-hate was never hate. It was fear, and now it has a name. Begin.